Imagine living your life after 50 and feeling energized and excited about your future. Welcome to the Women in the Middle podcast, the podcast for women who are ready to figure out what they want and create the life they deserve. Here's your host and master certified life coach, Susie Rosenstein.
Hey there, today's episode is all about the 7 groovy lessons that Marcia Brady taught me about midlife. Let's go. Welcome back to the podcast Women in the Middle. I'm your host, Susie Rosenstein, your master certified coach and midlife mentor, and I am so glad to be here with you again for this week's episode, which is going to be a fun little romp through the Wayback Machine as we take a look at 7 groovy midlife lessons that we can learn from one of my favorite TV characters from the Brady Bunch show, Marcia Brady. In fact, creating this episode is a little birthday present to myself. I love having fun with the podcast, and this idea really lit me up. Also, as some of you may know, I would love to have the actress who played Marcia Brady, Maureen McCormick, as my guest on the podcast. So if you have any connections to help make that happen, please let me know. Did you also love Marcia as much as I did? I thought she was just so darn cool, and I totally wanted to be her. As a kid growing up in the 70s watching regular TV shows every week, I couldn't get enough. I couldn't get enough of the Brady Bunch, and I absolutely couldn't get enough of Marcia. If you don't know, the Brady Bunch was on TV from 1969 to 1974. I was just 6 when it started. It was on at 8 p.m. on Friday nights, must-see TV, followed by The Partridge Family. Do you remember that? Sleepover magic. When we would have sleepovers, we would just devour it. Just loved it. Now, the sitcom, if you don't know, was about a blended family. Mike, the dad, was a widower with 3 sons, Greg, Peter, and Bobby. He meets Carol, the mom. She had 3 daughters, Marcia, Jan, and Cindy. Mike and Carol got married and hired a fun, quirky housekeeper named Alice. They all lived in a super cool mid-century home in the suburbs of Los Angeles. The storylines were about typical middle-class family activities and problems. The house became iconic too, with the stairs, the decor, the shared bathroom. There's so much of that house that we just remember. We remember it because we ate it up. We loved that show. And I say we, not just my family, but I have a feeling you were probably enjoying it too. Every once in a while, there were some famous people that made appearances on the show too, like Davy Jones, Joe Namath, Marion Ross, Vincent Price, and more. Now, one person in the Brady family stood out for me, though. It was absolutely the oldest daughter, Marcia. She was confident, stylish, and wise. I always thought she was wise. She always seemed to know how to handle and maneuver through life as a kid and then as a teenager, at least until she broke her nose with that whole football incident. And of course, we're going to talk about that a little bit too. Now that I'm well into midlife, I'm going to be 62. I realize there's more to Marcia than her beautiful long hair and a bit of 70s related high school drama. Turns out she was actually modeling some life lessons that totally hold up in my 60s. I made sure to buy the videotapes of the series to show my kids when they were small, my sons. In fact, my first attempt at buying the videotape collection was an early eBay purchase gone wrong. It came from Australia. I think it was about $110, something like that. And believe it or not, was recorded on beta tapes rather than VHS. So when it arrived, I had a total failure. I felt like an idiot. I spent all this money on the wrong tapes, and they came from halfway around the world. Anyway, the Brady Bunch was a huge part of my childhood. I heard over and over again that I kind of even looked like Marcia, which was always so funny to me because I didn't think I was that pretty or that cool, but I did have long, blondish hair, very straight like hers. I can't wait to have a bit of fun reminiscing about the Brady Bunch with you and talk about what it all meant to those of us who grew up in the 60s and 70s. But just quick, I have 2 exciting things to share before we get into the groovy midlife lessons from Marcia Brady. First, I have something new and exciting to invite you to. It's called the Midlife Happiness Jumpstart Experience. I've been working on it for weeks. It is perfect for you if you're ready to feel lighter, brighter, and more you. So it's a 14-day experience. And during this experience, you're going to be getting tiny science-backed actions that help you boost your mood, shift your mindset, and rediscover what makes you happy. And it's really fast, all in just 5 to 10 minutes a day. It's affordable and designed for busy midlife women over 50, just like you. It's super easy too. Your Midlife Happiness Jumpstart experience includes daily emails, a printable tracker, private WhatsApp group, and a group celebration Zoom call at the end. So if you're listening in real time, this launch group starts August 1st, 2025. And if not, check my shop at www.susierosenstein.com and click on the shop tab to see when you can join us at the next Midlife Happiness Jumpstart experience. So fun. Hope you join. Second, it's hard to believe, but it's also my 8-year podcast anniversary right now. You know what that means, right? It's a reason to celebrate. So you are currently listening to episode 417. Sometimes when I say the episode numbers, I catch myself wondering, is that accurate? Because it just seems too big. 400, over 400 episodes? Kind of like when you share your age to someone and you catch yourself because it sounds too old. So you're like, wait, am I really that old? It's kind of like that. So seriously though, I can't believe this. It's a lot of blah, blah, blahing going on right here at my desk, talking to myself for about 50% of the episodes, and of course, talking to amazingly interesting guests for the other 50%. Quite honestly, it's probably the most creative thing I've ever done in my life, and I just love it. As your midlife coach, I just can't help share this reminder. I need it myself, and I have a feeling you just might need it too. And it is about being curious about accomplishing a goal like that. It can be so frustrating when you find yourself struggling with a goal, and we often forget to look at areas of our life where we do not have the struggle and see what we can see what we can learn from the gap between having a struggle with a goal and not having a struggle with a goal. So I don't have success in an organizing, decluttering situation. My success with that, for example, staying on top of organizing and putting everything away in its place, is quite different from my success with producing podcasts. I have 2 podcasts, and I consistently get these episodes out on time. There's a success gap there. There's something I can't do well yet, and there's something I can do well. There's also an opportunity to learn from my podcast success. So you could do the same thing. Look at something you struggle with and something you rock. You just rock it right out. And think about it. So it should come as no surprise that the answer can be found with your thinking. The way you think about your goal in the 2 scenarios is different. So when I think about my podcast production goal to produce these episodes regularly, there's no wiggle room for drama. I'm not opening the door to the drama. My commitment is clearly higher than it is for pile busting my stuff. Hence the success. So I'm not going to go down this rabbit hole with more detail now, but if you want to learn more about it, go to episode 338 about making a fun commitment in midlife and 414 about failing in advance. Those episodes will help you. They'll give you lots to think about this topic. So back to the podcast 8-year anniversary celebration, I say yay for me for creating something meaningful that is so fulfilling at this point in my life and probably, as I mentioned, the most creative thing I've ever done. And I've never had this much fun at work before, ever. So I'm going to treat myself to a midweek bubble tea and think about this milestone. There's a really great little place that's walking distance from my house. I'm going to put on my sneakers. I'm going to head on out. I'm going to get the perfect bubble tea. They're so yummy. And I'm going to really think about what I've accomplished. And I also want to take this opportunity to thank you for listening. I can't even begin to tell you how much I appreciate your time and that you trust me to help you grow forward during this super interesting time of your life. I value you so much in my community and love when you give me feedback, podcast ideas, and of course, positive iTunes reviews. I love the feedback. So thanks again for helping me also love my life after 50. All right, so now let's dive in to 7 groovy lessons Marcia Brady taught me in midlife. Here we go. Lesson 1, confidence is a choice. Think about it. Marcia Brady radiated confidence. And even more importantly, she chose it over and over again, even when things were uncertain. That's a powerful message for midlife women. Confidence isn't something you have, it's something you practice. So many of us think that some people are just born more confident than others. Marcia didn't wait to be ready. She did all kinds of things that so many of us would shy away from. Remember when she ran for class president? I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't have done that then for sure. Remember when she spoke up all the time at the dinner table? And she tried out for everything at school? Were you that type of kid? Not everybody is. So she wasn't afraid to share her voice, her suggestions, her opinions, even in grown-up conversations. Now, back in the 70s when we grew up, this seemed really bold. Speaking up isn't for just teenagers, though, right? Women our age can do the same and get more comfortable doing the same, even if we didn't grow up this way. You don't need to feel 100% confident to act with confidence. You have to change the way you think about it, though. I love thinking that I'm learning. I'm learning to do this or that. I'm learning to become a woman who's more confident in those kinds of situations. This makes it more doable for me. So you probably hear about the importance to find or even reclaim your voice in midlife at school, at work, as a volunteer, in relationships. You can start practicing in settings you find more manageable, even at your dinner table, if that's an easier way to start getting better at it. But the important thing is to start. Lesson 2, it's okay to want to shine. Let's talk about being seen in midlife. This is often not easy for the midlife gals. Marcia, however, loved the spotlight and wasn't afraid to go for it. Whether she was running for office, trying out for roles, or even promising to get Davy Jones to come to her school dance, she embraced her desire to be seen and succeed. Think about that. I guess you could say that Marcia was not a shrinking violet. How often do you downplay what you want because you're afraid that you'll fail or that you'll look silly? This has come up for me so many times. I shared in the podcast before that I created this exercise to help me look at forks in the road in your life, in my life. So I looked at all the points in my life that had like a major fork, like a decision that had to be made. And then I looked at the decision I made and I tried to look for patterns about how I made decisions. And I found fear all over the place. All over the place, so much fear of failure. The other thing I've noticed, and this came out for me in a huge way, in an artistic way, and also when I started to practice tap dancing, took lessons, I was so afraid that I would look stupid or silly. And I know I'm not alone. So many of us don't do things because of the fear of failure or judgment. So think about yourself, and then think about our friend Marcia. Marcia didn't play small, and you have choices too. It's something you can work on. Marcia Brady had her own back way back then, a little ahead of so many of us. So always think of Marcia when you're thinking about being seen in midlife. Lesson 3, even a nose can teach you something about self-acceptance. Now, when you think about Marcia, you probably remember how pretty she was, that long, shiny hair, the way it went into a bit of a point at her back. Do you remember that? It was so long, and it wasn't cut straight across the way it's very common to do now. She had these super cute outfits, and how cool and comfortable she seemed in her skin. I always noticed that. Marcia was known for that shiny hair and those cute outfits, and like kind of being a classic popular teen, right? A queen of teen. But her lessons about self-acceptance were memorable and powerful. There were 2 specific episodes that so many of us remember. First, there was the one about her braces, when she got those braces and she just thought she was so unattractive. I remember that scene from when she was standing in front of the mirror practicing smiling and talking and what to do with those braces and how she looked. And then her date Alan canceled and she thought it was because she was ugly, but it wasn't. All that, but she learned so much from that experience. And then there was the famous, "Oh, my nose" episode. Do you remember that? How can you not? Marcia got hit in the face by a football and she looked so horrible and felt so self-conscious. She was worried about her big date, and once again, she was devastated. But also once again, she experienced what it feels like to face rejection, to face the reality of a situation, and have confidence without losing her spirit. All of this happened in one of these little episodes. So these moments show Marcia's authentic struggles with self-image and social pressure, and her choice to keep showing up anyway. You see where I'm going with this, right? How often do you feel insecure about aging and your physical changes? We all have a 10 times mirror now, don't we? I do. I think I might even have a 20 times somewhere. So many changes physically, emotionally, and socially. But self-care these days doesn't just have to be about looking youthful. It's also about choosing what helps you take care of your body, mind, heart, and soul. Thinking about what makes you feel beautiful, healthy, and whole. That can all be part of it. Beauty and your sense of it changes, but your confidence doesn't have to. It's totally yours to define. Lesson 4. Popularity isn't everything, but connection is. Were you popular at school, or are you popular now? I remember holding my own in the marching band circle, but outside of that experience, I felt comfortable, but I didn't think of myself as super popular. Marcia always seemed to have a lot of friends, and she always seemed to be popular. But more importantly, she stayed connected with family, with her classmates. I just remember how many friends she always had come into her house after school. She had tons of friends. And she also got super involved with all kinds of things. She was connected. Marcia also made time for her siblings, even when they were driving her crazy. There was a fair share of shenanigans going on. Her siblings did drive her bananas, but it turns out that connection is a happiness booster in midlife. It's a serious thing. And it's really important to remember not to isolate, to reach out, to connect with people. Now, Marcia's people skills were strong. After all, she pulled off the seemingly impossible thing by getting Davy Jones to perform at the school dance. Who has the nerve to do that? She did it through her charm. She was very persistent. And of course, she was good at relationships, relationship building, and connection. So think about it. Connection is the real secret to joy. This is one of the reasons it's so important to say yes more often. Say yes to more invitations. Say yes to more dinners. Say yes to more texts, more walks with a friend. Make time. You don't need to be popular, but you do need to connect and belong. And here comes lesson 5. Be a big sister to someone, even if you're an only child. So even though you may think Marcia, when it comes to Marcia Brady, there's more to her character than the tension between her and Jan on occasion, because it was just so easy to feel overshadowed by Marcia's success in so many areas. What couldn't she do? Marcia was generally portrayed as a great older sister. She's often seen in the show as caring and responsible. She kind of looked out for her sisters, Jan and Cindy, sometimes too, even though she was so busy being so popular. She really was busy. As a midlife gal now, you probably know how fulfilling it is to be a mentor in some capacity. I've heard this over and over again. You don't need to be a mentor in a formal capacity either. You can take this spirit into volunteering or simply cheering on other women, being a support to other women. The message is that you can always lift another woman up. That is one of the main things I love about coaching midlife women. I love to celebrate wins, not just mine. I love to share what I've learned along the way. And doing this, acting as a mentor like this, it's a very good thing. Midlife isn't just about figuring yourself out. It's about reaching a hand back and pulling somebody else forward. I love that quote, "A rising tide lifts all boats." It's kind of like that. Right? If you figured something out, it is so great to help bring somebody else up so that they can also figure it out. All good. Okay. Lesson 6. You're allowed to mess up and make a comeback. Marcia didn't always win, and she wasn't always perfect, even though she looked perfect. Part of the Brady Bunch story was teaching the ability to overcome obstacles and be resilient. She did for sure win a lot, though. She did. Remember when she didn't make cheerleader or when she let popularity get to her head? Marcia messed up. She learned and she tried again. Specifically, there was that time when her ego got out of control when she was cast as Juliet in a play and she was dismissed. She was let go from her big role. Very traumatic. And then there was another part of the football in the nose episode. It wasn't just that Marcia got hit in the nose. She was supposed to go on a date with Charlie, but ended up canceling on him so she could go out with the hunk, Doug Simpson. Remember him? The most popular boy at school. Now, her brother Peter threw the football that hit Marcia in the face. You may remember her saying, "Oh, my nose! Oh, my nose!" And if you're like me, you've looked that up several times to watch the video and maybe see it in slow motion. And then there's been a lot of fun made of it, but it was such a classic moment. And when it happened, it was shocking. I remember watching it when it actually happened was broadcast for the first time. Oh, it was like a really big deal. Anyway, then Doug broke their date when he saw her nose by telling her the same excuse that she told Charlie when she broke their date. And this quote you may have used yourself, I have, as an excuse to break up or to be late or something like that. Change your plan. Something suddenly came up. Something suddenly came up. It was a big fail for Marcia, and she didn't only suffer a bruised nose, but she also had a bruised conscience for how she treated Charlie. She learned from this and makes a big comeback by being a much more considerate human. I mean, what a great little episode, right? It's a wonderful reminder that it's never too late to reinvent, to restart, and to realign at any age. Marcia always bounced back, and she became more aware, and she became a more sensitive person. Just like Marcia, you don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to keep going, and midlife is the perfect time for a comeback, a pivot, or a fresh start. And last but not least, lesson 7, everyday moments are the best episodes. So if you remember, the Brady Bunch show was a very gentle show. It wasn't about big, dramatic plot twists and a ton of drama or tension. It was about family life with a big blended family, 70s style. The storylines were relatable, simple moments of life, something that it's just easier and easier to cherish more of in midlife. So even as I'm saying this, I remember last week I thought about an episode as I was doing laundry, specifically as the laundry suds were flooding out of the washing machine in the laundry room. I remember that scene vividly from the Brady Bunch show too, when Bobby created a huge mess in the laundry room. And the whole room was full of suds. The suds were taller than him. It was so funny. In fact, as I was preparing for this episode, I watched that scene again and I laughed out loud. And then I see Bobby swimming around in the suds, and then his mom and Alice came in, and the whole thing was hilarious. Now, my situation wasn't quite that bad. It wasn't quite as bad as Bobby's situation, but it wasn't good. And right away, I thought of the Brady Bunch. So for sure, living in the moment is a superpower. It can be so challenging, and so much of the media and entertainment today are not as simple as the Brady Bunch show. That is for sure. But the Brady Bunch serves as such a great reminder, though. You can learn so much from the small stuff, the backyard talks, neighborhood walks, family dinners, hallway chats, driving competitions, and backyard carnivals. Even the most iconic Brady Bunch moments like, "Oh, my nose," and "Marcia, Marcia, Marcia," were relatable, and they were grounded in everyday life, everyday family life, especially life with siblings. You know, in midlife and on this podcast, I coach on the need to slow down and savor the ordinary. It comes out all the time. And yes, I know you're busy. I know I'm busy, and that's part of our problem. What is the result of thinking the thought that I'm too busy? When is it an autopilot kind of thought and not really even accurate? What does living like this create for you? And is that who you want to be and how you want to show up? Does "I'm too busy" serve you? Slowing down to savor the ordinary might just mean taking time to have a coffee on your deck, or walk your dog without looking at your phone, laugh with your sister, or laugh with your best friend. This is the stuff real joy in life is made of. It's not always the big vacation and the giant goal. The small stuff counts. So I guess you could say that the reminder from the Brady Bunch show, the lessons, it's really that you don't need a plot twist to love your life. Just be present for the episode you're in. So thank you, Marcia. Jan, Cindy, Bobby, Peter, and Greg, Carol, Mike, and Alice. Your show meant so much to us midlife gals when we were kids. We think of you and your lessons often. And if I had a chance to learn from your characters again at this phase of my life, goofy music, laugh track, and all, I would watch in a heartbeat. Okay, that's it for this episode. I think that was a lot of fun, and I hope you got a lot out of it too. I love that preparing for this show gave me permission to watch a bunch of Brady Bunch stuff again. Lots of great lessons to learn. Please let me know what your favorite episodes and memories were. I'm sure there were many, and I would love to hear from you. Now, as you know, my focus as your midlife coach is to help you waste less valuable time and get on with the good stuff. This is what regret-proofing your life is all about. Remember, being the queen of your brain domain is the best way to be, and midlife transformation coaching is the fastest way to rediscover joy and purpose after 50. My friend, it's time to stop waiting for the right moment and start creating the excitement, joy, and fulfillment you crave. So if you'd like to see if working together is a good fit for you, either in the Women in the Middle Academy or privately, head over to www.talktosusie.com and book your free momentum call, and we'll chat. If you're interested in signing up for the Midlife Happiness Jumpstart experience, go to www.susierosenstein.com and click on the Shop tab, and you'll see it there. For show notes and links, go to www.susierosenstein.com and click on the Podcast tab and look for episode 417. You'll also see a link there for my other show, The Women in the Middle Entrepreneurs, which is all about the reality of running your business when you're a midlife gal. It's also on iTunes, Spotify, and all the places. Let's do this, ladies. It's time for you to put yourself first, one thought at a time. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll talk to you next week.